Alright, y'all. Let's talk about this film. Let's talk about this oldie but goodie. The Mist. The Mist. It's a good film. It's a really good film. It can be infuriatingly annoying and tonally jarring at times. But it can also be tremendously horrifying and dreadful. Sometimes both simultaneously. It goes about telling a very self-contained story with all the characters in one place, jostling against, and at times working with each other. Depending on the circumstances, that's often dictated by their own desperation. And Frank Darabont wastes no time in establishing this dynamic in this particular setting, utilizing these people's familiarity with each other, their riffs, their judgment, their assumptions, as a springboard for potential conflict. The film screams low budget, but is employed and utilized wisely by using limited CGI, a primary location, and talented actors who are very effective in drumming up the tension and fear as they bounced off each other. Apparently, it was so effective because some of these interactions were off the cuff ad lib, which gave the scenes this naturalistic flair, coupled with the way it was shot with its ground level documentary style composition employing snap zooms and multiple handheld close ups. It was a very tightly constructed and well made film that utilized its economy very proficiently. The film starts with a storm rummaging a small community, but most particularly the house of our protagonist, who's painting a picture of himself, of another protagonist, a sort of semi acknowledgement. That is, of course, until a tree comes flying through the goddamn window, destroying everything, including and especially that heroic portrait. Foreshadowing anyone? This dark, eerie tone immediately switches to blinding day, which literally felt like someone just walked into the blackness of my room and turned on a goddamn floodlight. Maybe it's Darabont's way of giving the audience a subtle jump while bringing us into this world of warmth and comfort before pulling the rug from underneath us. Either way, it's jarring, and like those floodlights in my goddamn bedroom, it takes a while to adjust, and it lingers for more than it should, to the point of being tonally dissonant. We've already associated this light as some sort of normality and a cheerful atmosphere, so when things eventually turn sour, as it will, it feels odd and again dissonant to have characters who are in a state of terror to linger within that cheerful atmosphere. Still, it's a minor complaint, despite everything. It doesn't last very long, and what's left is a gripping film that centers itself on the exploration of primal fear within isolation and routes taken in our desperation to assuage and escape it. It's about the preservation of our psyche, of the mental fortitude and our emotional wherewithal when it's placed in a pressurized vacuum. How much can our values and morality, strength of character and sense of self take under these incredibly foreign and horrid conditions? How much of a push does it take to fall when our very mortality stares back from the abyss and reminds us of its fragility? At first, despite the apprehension between everyone, there's still this sense of communal understanding in working together as a community for their own survival. A sort of certainty of expectation that creates a gel-like bubble of fortitude, physically and psychologically. Despite certain voices that infer doubt and irrationality, common sense and reason still prevails among the majority. That is until, of course, new information is presented by people being literally picked apart by beings unknown to them, that these doubts resurface, feeling increasingly truer, more palpable. The irrational, fanatical voice sounds more reasonable and comforting. And really, can we blame them for submitting to it? Ghastly beasts from some unknown nothingness. And I think that's enough to incite some sense of existential terror that leaves one floating in the abyss into the unknown and clutches at the voice that's essentially not good for them. That's Marcia Gay Harden plays Mrs. Carmody, a devout Christian who has been written off by most as just being too overzealous in her convictions. And as time progressed, batshit crazy. She shrugged off and ignored most of the time, but has more trouble before the group. And her convictions are reaffirmed in her eyes. She's emboldened to pull from the stock of frail, confused, terror-ridden individuals desperate to recoup some peace, certainty, and comfort from the terror that lurks outside. It is in this instant that the human spirit seems eroded, whereas compassion and civility dies. The Joker said it best, right?
They're only as good as the world allows them to be. I'll show tell you, when the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other.
And this isn't anything new to say at this point in time, but it's a horrible reality we have to acknowledge is likely to happen if the lines of civility are broken, and that's a very scary thing. It's cripplingly ironic that in order to survive and to seek refuge from insanity, we'll be willing to indulge in the throes of another kind of insanity. Obviously, much more time is spent exploring the monsters within the characters than what lurks in the mist outside. And Marcia Gay Harden does a great job of realizing the worst of these monsters. Presented as frantic yet stoic, she manages to capture this frailty that gives her a pity pass, but still exudes an aura of bitterness and hatred, even more so as the film progresses. I swear to the Lord Jesus Christ, I wish someone could just pick this woman up, open those goddamn doors, and hurl her the fuck outside. Fuck you, Miss Carmody. You're just making everyone else miserable. Still, it's a testament to the actress? I don't know. It's a testament to the performance of this woman that gave this character so much life and so much fullness. And even though it made me livid and really made me hate her, I appreciated what she brought to the film. Thomas Jane as David also acquitted himself as the frontman and voice of reason and hope, along with Laurie Holden and Toby Jones and William Sadler and Jeffrey DeMond. All of them acquitted themselves perfectly. They were perfectly cast, which again is why the film functioned so well, as it gave these characters some sense of dimensionality and wholesomeness that maybe wouldn't have been the case if it were in the hands of lesser talents. The creatures were used sparingly but very effective when employed. Despite the questionable CGI, still it's fantastically and hilariously funny to see these characters' reaction to the horrifying situation surrounding them.
Holy shit! Goddamn child-proofing sons of bitches!
But it's not to the point that these reactions border on parody. That said, there are moments when some of these characters seem to lack basic common sense and make some rather poor decisions. At times they are incredulous and willfully obtuse when a solution lays right there in front of them. Case in point, hey guys, you know that there's this this tentacle thing that's lying on the floor? We had this great battle in the back room just now, which apparently none of y'all heard. One of our own got taken, and yeah, he's dead. So I need you guys to come take a look that there's proof of otherworldly monsters and creatures out there. Oh no, fuck that, man. I don't believe you. I ain't never gonna believe you. Well, don't take my word for it, motherfucker. Take your ass and go look in the storeroom for yourself. Okay, you know what? I'll go take a look. Not everyone else here as individuals who also needs this proof to be verified, come around the back and take a look. I myself, this one person, is gonna go around there, look for myself, and then I'll come back and try to convince everyone else that what he's saying is actually true. Especially you, Andrew Brower's character, you asshole. Case in point, part 2. Guys, you know that the front of the store is made entirely of glass. We have some plyboards we can use to protect ourselves, but it's not necessary at this point. Let the glass.
Just the glass.
Just the glass?
The glass.
The glass stay as it is. And when it's compromised by these goddamn creatures that burst through it, killing some of our own, injuring others, then we'll put up the plyboard. You see how smart we are? So smart. You see, it makes me consciously aware that the film is cutting its corners in order to amp up the tension and suspense. Which, I mean, it's your film, Frank Darabont. You want to trade in stupidity for suspense? None shall stand in your way. Do as you please. The film is yours. Still, it's a minor slight, guys. It's really trivial in the grand scheme of things because Frank Darabont really knows how to construct terrifying scenes that really shakes you to your boot. I might sound like a clinical observer, but I gotta tell you, that scene in the pharmacy with the mist and those creatures coming out of the woodwork, shooting acid web and shit, that gave me some mini heart attacks, I gotta tell you. But what really struck me was the tail end of the film. I mean, that was a shock. I did not see that coming. The way it played out, I had to take a breather. And it's not necessarily what happened, but what lingered afterwards. It was worse. The bleakness that was left in its wake, in its messaging, and me reassessing the point of it all. Like, Maybe who we are taught to root for, despite their likability, their hope, their reassurance, their rationality, and general goodwill, can also lead us to some very unpleasant outcomes and our potential demise. Maybe the one with the purest of intentions can be just as unsafe to follow as the mad zealot. Life doesn't always reward our struggles, despite the purest of intentions. It's a hard pill to swallow and a bold statement to make, but it nevertheless makes it any less true. It's cynical, it's nihilistic, it's dreadful, but it's just it is what it is. That's life. Anyway, guys, I wholeheartedly recommend you all watch this film. It's an old film, but it's really subtextually good, and I liked it, and I hope y'all like it too. I hope I convinced y'all to watch it despite my reservations. Thank you for spending time with me. I appreciate it. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye. Have a good one.